Hi, everybody. I hope you had a great Easter. If you joined us online, you know that the topic of the sermon, or the title of the sermon, was the gospel of hope. And one of the things that we stated this morning is that the gospel is really placed within, I guess we'd call it a historical context. And sometimes in the modern way that we think of the gospel, we think of it in more of a conceptual set of ideas or principles that we present. And so on Mondays, we generally do about 4 questions. So our first question deals with that area. And it's simply, if God placed the gospel in history as a developing story rather than a conceptual idea, why is that important to our faith? Understanding that the gospel has a historical element to it. The second question that I want you to think about this week has to do with the idea of a fuller gospel that is presented. When we looked at Peter's sermon on the day of Pentecost, he referred to the resurrection, he referred to the crucifixion, but he referred to a lot of other things as well. The Old Testament promise, the promise of the kingdom to David, the ascension, and we mentioned that it's a much fuller gospel story. And so our second question is, how does a full view of the gospel or the gospel story provide greater hope for you as a Christian? Then our third question is this. In light of the gospel of hope, how will that change the way you live? And I guess our fourth question related to that is, if the gospel is a story, how does that affect the way you tell that story, the way that you share the gospel with other people? Because sharing a story with someone who doesn't believe is different from sharing 4 principles in a prayer. So anyway, I hope you'll think about that this week and look at the sermon again and think about particularly those 12 points that Peter covered in dealing with the essentials of the gospel in that message that he proclaimed that day. Anyway, again, hope you had a great Easter, and I hope that you'll follow that up with a great week after Easter. Bye for now. God bless.